fuzzy images is made possible by viewers like you. But more importantly, by the funding of our sponsors.
You would probably be surprised to hear that animation had an incredibly strong start. Most fields are built on a foundation of failed experimentation. Animation in many ways was the same, but the experimental stages somewhat predated the invention of film, and gave it a bit of a leg up even if not given the same respect overall. Yet, the years between the 60s and the late 80s was widely considered the dark ages of cartoons. With animated theatrical shorts dying off, studios were forced to make the move to television. A field that had only been treaded lightly by shows like Crusader Rabbit and the more infamous Paddy the Pelican. To keep up with the strict deadlines, animation was made minimalistic, or at times not animated at all, and was heavily recycled for other scenes and episodes. Plots were moved by dialogue instead of visual actions. It was cheap, efficient, and most of all, pretty damn boring. It wasn't until the late 80s that we began to get more visually stimulating cartoons, with things like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and especially Disney's DuckTales. But we already covered that whole history in another episode. This was a huge stepping stone into the animation that most people these days know and love. The toned out, stiff, and often recycle-heavy animations were swept aside by a new generation of vibrant, stretchy, and energetic cartoons. But probably the most iconic faces of the 90s cartoons had to be the Animaniacs. Airing for 5 seasons from 1993 to 1998, it was the equal parts comedy skit show, cinema parody, and even historical mockumentary. So not surprisingly, Animaniacs became a smash hit with kids and adults. It was smart, funny, and dare I say, probably one of the most progressive cartoon series of its time. I think it's easy to say I enjoyed pretty much everything about it. Well, aside one skit. Paying homage to series like Lassie and Old Yeller, Buttons and Mindy parodies the old concept of dogs being man's best friend. The 15 episodes follows the ever-faithful canine companion Buttons, watching over and fending for the recklessly naive young Mindy. Usually at the expense and detriment of Buttons himself. It's a pretty simple concept, it's pretty much the same breakdown as Tom and Jerry. Mindy gets loose, she wanders into danger, Buttons chases Mindy, and Buttons gets hurt until they get back. Which Buttons gets rewarded for his heroics by getting scolded for shit he didn't even do. Yes, all you beasts and vermin, this is exactly what we fought for. Like most of the Animaniacs skits, Buttons and Mindy has the same tendency to bounce around to different time periods and source materials, seeing them in the future and prehistoric times as mermaids, and even in reimaginings of Alice in Wonderland and Wizard of Oz. Oh, come on, I think we could do a little bit better with such a progressive, boundary-pushing show. How about Saving Private Mindy, or maybe Buttons Don't Tell, or hell, just put them in Roots. You may be wondering at this point why the subjugated canine is always watching over this little girl. I mean, where are her parents? Well, we do see Mindy's mom at the beginning and end of most episodes, with a running joke of Mindy always calling her lady.
Thank you, lady. I love you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, okay.
Usually to her annoyance. I get a kid not knowing their mother's name, but Mindy doesn't even seem to recognize her own mom. Kinda interesting as she knows Buttons by name, or even this guy is a mailman. The way Mindy responds, you would almost think that this woman was a stranger to her. Well, surprisingly enough, we do get some clarification on this in a few episodes.
Mommy has to go to a better parenting conference. You stay right here and play.
Okay, lady. I love you.
Bye-bye.
And there you have it. Mindy's mother is an inattentive parent. So much so she even sees the mailman more than her own mother somehow. So much she doesn't even see her as a mom. And before people comment, yes, I know she calls her mom in the movie, because I know I have to note this. This small detail changes the entire theme of this skit from humorous slapstick to somewhat disheartening yet witty commentary on humans' lack of awareness and simply poor parenting in general. Something I even see slowly seeping into the habits of animals these days. A bit of a social commentary that became a bit of a warning on the future, as I'm pretty sure we have all seen kids that run amok in stores, even to the general nanny cultures of parents that more and more rely and demand on others as well as the government to raise their children for them. I suppose with that being said, the cartoon did have a bit of a subtle, clever dialogue on the subject of parenting.
If you need me, I'll be inside drafting a PTA resolution against negligent mothers.
Okay, lady. I love you. Bye-bye.
And some well-used references, as well as having some incredible animation that the entire Animaniacs series was respected for. It was visually a well-crafted piece of work. But with that aside, it's just plain callous. This series treats buttons like a punching bag, representing animals in general as simple guardians and servants. If there is anything to learn from this, it's that you should probably never try to help anyone, because that will just lead to your own suffering. Oh well, at the very least, everything in it's happening to a fucking mutt. What? Oh shit.